Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Oh man, that's how happy I am to be with you guys here today on a big day, on a big Monday, a big victory Monday. Money B saying that I'm late. I'm sorry I'm late too. I just now finished all the deep dig charts and stuff. I needed to get them ready to go. Before the show, of course, and it's just been a big day here, not just for me, but for all of the Texas media. But Blake, I think like before we get started, let's just go ahead and throw real quick to Thomas Jones earlier at the Texas press conference.
as so relatable.
See, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but here, turn. Can you share it to where see if you can
hear it? I'm not sure if the volume comes through.
They're having to tell him that the mic was upside down, and Sark just loved it. He's like, "Did we get that on camera? We had to get that on camera, man. You media guys doing something stupid,
dude." So, I love that LHN kind of turned this into a case of the Mondays thing. Like, it's so relatable.
Yeah, for sure. Thomas Jones, man, over at the PAS. Glad to have those guys all around. What's going on, you guys? So we have Bo. The first person into the chat says Boomer Sooner. Hey, look, man, you could be here in the chat. We'd love to have you. Just make sure that you click to like the show. Jay Ward, so good to see you, my friend. Blake tweeting out the link to the merch. We have Football with Friends merch that we're going to want you to check out. Colin Crowder, so good to see you. Hacker, good to see you, my friend. Money B, of course. It is indeed fun as hell. Man, we're going to have a great time today, guys. Tyler Finley, so good to see you, my friend. Richard Arias, so good to hear you, man. Or so good to see you, man. Colby S. getting back into the chats. Look, some people are coming back.
Game's back, Alex. We had
these are some names that I haven't seen in a minute. I think it just takes a victory to get them all back here, right? We got a bunch to get to today.
Thank goodness it's a victory.
Golly, thank goodness it's a victory. Look, all this stuff that we can complain about and all this stuff that we can talk about, like we're going to talk about it. We're not going to mince words here. We never do. We're not here to be your mommy and your daddy and pat you on the hand and tell you the way you need to feel about stuff. We're here to present the information, let you give our insights as it relates to it, and move on, right? And at this point, Texas can move on. They can move on. They can move on as the same one-loss team as they were before. Now, it's a little bit ugly how they kind of got there at times, but we'll get to all that. Chris Thomas is asking. And look, you guys, please make sure to just ask any questions that you want throughout the show. I'm going to be going into the spreadsheets a lot, talking about some of the deep dig on defense, talking about my reactions to some of the things that Sark said at the press conference today as your official coach speak whisperer. Blake, I saw that somebody is taking over my bit on Twitter called the Coach Speak Index, where this guy actually he's a Coach Speak whisperer too. And he's keeping a Coach Speak Index of all the NFL coaches to have the index of which is the biggest liar and which is the most truthful. I can't believe that I didn't think of this. I don't have time, but it's a very good game. Okay, so I don't have the extensive list ahead of me, but I can just tell you what they are. So we got word at the press conference today that the injuries to Ethan Burke and the injury to Quinn Ewers, as well as one other that got lumped in, which was the injury to Jalen Catalon, are now going to be week to week, which basically means, look, if we're talking about, you know what, I need to write this whole thing down about the Michigan scandal.
I'll bring that up later too, because I got the latest tweet from Thamel and all that. We can talk about that.
I'm going to have a very unpopular take on this. I often have very unpopular and uncharacteristic.
I'm excited to hear it.
Maybe it is a take that everybody else has had. I don't think it is. Everybody's all up in arms about this. Anyway, so all right. So the injuries. So those three were the three that he mentioned. We don't have a Texas media hardly worth its salt outside of a few reporters like Anwar and Bowles and a few others who are going to pin him down and ask him about some of these other guys. But let's just talk about it. Let's go through a list and we'll just think about it. Who hasn't been all right? So there's those three. They're week to week, which means they're probably month to month. If we just look at the injuries and break them down one by one, with Catalan's stuff, we don't even really know what that is. He had like 3 different things going on anyway, right? So whatever it is with him, they got worse. I have no idea. With Ethan Burke, that play happened on the second to last play of the game, right on the stop where they stopped him. Where, gosh, they sure got a bad. They gave Houston a bad spot.
They got a terrible spot on that one.
Not as far as I'm concerned. I love the spot, but boy, man, I'll just say, let's put a pin in this, and let's remember whenever you guys say that there's stuff with the Big 12 official screwing Texas and all the rest of it, man. Let's always kind of put a pin in this game and say,
during the watch along when that happened, I kind of took a minute to think about what just happened, and
I felt like it was
my thoughts were, what just happened to Houston is what was supposed to happen to Texas in this game.
Texas kind of got it with that Anthony Hill late hit that was such BS. That wasn't even.
They missed a ton of holding calls throughout the game too. But that spot was so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So all right, so we'll back to the injuries. So we have those 3. Burke, I think that was a right foot or right leg. I'm not sure that we've heard exactly what it was, but it seemed to me like as he was coming around when that guy fell on him, it felt like the mechanism that looked like it kind of got screwed up was his ankle. Like it felt like the inside of his ankle got sort of pushed down, like not the regular way that you roll an ankle where you roll it to the outside. It felt like it kind of went to the inside. So I don't know if that's an ankle. I'm not sure if it was a foot. I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor. Not that I even need to give that preface by saying that, but he's saying that if it's week to week, it's probably I'd imagine something with the foot sprain. We'll probably have to dig into more on that. And then with Quinn Ewers, we now know throwing shoulder, AC joint sprain, thanks to JT Sanders and the fact that they just left him in after letting this happen twice last week. Not thanks to him. Obviously, he didn't do it on purpose, but it felt like that sack was very much his fault. And whenever Anwar first reported that it was that play, I'm like, Anwar, what are you kidding me, man? It was the play whenever him and that other guy clobbered each other on the third down. Anwar's like, no, man, if you like, and he sent the pick, and he's like, no, man, look, like that's his non-throwing shoulder. It's like he's like, go back and look at that sack. I went back and looked, and sure enough, that it was the JT Sanders play.
His shoulder kind of got driven into the ground. Did on that sack.
Chris Thomas is asking if Sanders at 100%. I don't know. I don't call him up at night and talk to him. I think he's probably not. I think he's probably fine if you want to have him split out and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is they can't just substitute guys in and out, all the time. Just if they're going to run him in line or if they're going to run him at the H back, if they're going to run him split out. And they probably just figured he was fine enough to go after seeing. Pretty much it was in the last game. It was real tough. It was real tough. He gave up 1 TFL, 1 sack last week, just with the complete inability to anchor. He had 2 weeks off. You figure he's probably good. I don't think he's quite 100%, but I don't consider that an injury because that's a guy who's actually playing, right? Ryan Watts sounds like he's on his way back, so that's good. They're talking like they're going to have him back next week. There was an injury in the game that happened to Alfred Collins. That wasn't anything that anybody followed up with in the media this week, so I don't know. There was an injury in the game that occurred to Gavin Holmes. That wasn't anything that anybody followed up with any sort of specificity, so I don't know. There was the one that happened to Terrence Brooks on the third to last play of the game, and we'll talk about that and the implications of that because I think – with what happened, and there was something with Jahdae Barron. I don't know what the Jahdae Barron thing was. He didn't play the first half, and I figured, all right, well, he's probably this week he might have got maybe a little suspended, or who knows? I'm like could have been out late one night with his girlfriend, or he got home past curfew, or like I don't even know how what they do suspend, but no, because the second half started and Jalen Gilbo was still out there to start the second half. Right. He like generally when it's a suspension, like you're just dying to get your guy back in, you're getting him back in a nickel with the first play of the second half. They get Jalen Gilbo in there to start the first series of the second half and then bring in Jahdae Barron. So there's a little something going on with him, but I don't consider him injured because he finished the game. He had the game winning pass breakup. There is, of course, the stuff with Jake Majors. I no longer consider him injured, though. There's the stuff with Cole Hudson. I'm beginning to maybe not consider him injured because he was at least dressed out for the game, right? He was dressed out for the game. Whether or not that means he plays, I'm not sure. And And then there's also an injury that's sort of still lingering in the background, festering, kind of festering around like that Oklahoma turd in the punch bowl last week. You should get a whiff of every now and then, right? The whole Christopher Ross one, that one's still kind of lingering out there. But it feels like since that happened, we can go look back and see when the last time it was he played. I think that they were saying that was going to be like a 4-week deal. Clearly, so he's probably on his way back. So off the top of my head, that's sort of the list of injuries right now.
But one other one, I heard it referenced a couple times today. I haven't gone back and seen the whole broadcast, but apparently the broadcast crew was mentioning that Malik Murphy was kind of battling something last week. Have you heard anything about that?
He didn't look like he was battling too much to me. Did he look like it to you?
No, he looked fine, but it was just something apparently Brando and Tillman were talking about on the broadcast.
He was battling something during the week of practice.
Like he had missed some time in practice, or it had been just something that's been brought up today.
Boy, Brando and Tillman sure do stink at their jobs, man.
They're awful.
Those are two really bad announcers, man. It's like, it makes me glad that I just listen to like hunting podcasts and stuff when I'm redoing the deep dig, and unless I have to stop and just listen to the official, and if they're giving an announcement about a penalty or something. That's the only time that I'll listen to the. Golly!
Oh, look at this, El Presidente in the chat, Tom G in the chat.
Oh gosh, Tom G is back. El Presidente, Colby S. Man, it feels like the whole gang's getting back together. Good, man. Good. Watch the Dana Holger. This is what interesting. So what so Colby S says, I watched the Dana Holgerson press conference. First comment was Sark said to me right after the game, really, you went to a 3-3-5 defense? I can't believe this is a problem for Sark. I don't believe it's a problem for Sark either. I'm going to talk about what I think the problem was this week. There were a couple problems, but I refuse to believe that it's his inability to adapt to a 3-3-5 defense. And the fact was, look, he gave him a different look, and it's maybe what people have globbed onto with this whole 3-3-5 thing is maybe when Sark gets in these games where somebody gives him a different look than he's practiced all week or that he's expected all week, that generally might be something like a 3-3-5 stack. And that just so happens to be what it is that he's had trouble with. But man, dude, it's like there were points in that game with the defense where I was just thinking to myself, man, I have more confidence in U of H maybe to get a first down here than I would if Texas were on the other side of the ball against these guys. Like, it just felt like, man, number 2, number 4, number 0, man jack, they were finding ways to just scheme these guys completely open. And it had to do with just bad coverage angles being taken by the safeties at times. Sometimes it was the nickels. We'll talk about who all had the coverage burns. I don't think that the corners played terrific games either. I haven't personally have an idea for this next week if Gavin Holmes and or Terrence Brooks are at all banged up. I think they need to move Jahdae Barron to outside corner like he played for those last 2 snaps, and have Jalen Gilbo just play nickel, right? Just get Ryan Watts and Jahdae Barron on the outsides. Jalen Gilbo looks good at nickel, and just drill these safeties and let them understand that next week it's BYU. It's nothing having to do with this Donovan Wilson dude. It's nothing having to do with anybody. Keaton, you're not worried about Keaton Clovis killing you with his legs. If that's your main concern going into this BYU game, is him pulling some kind of Taysom Hill on you. It's not this. It isn't the same kind of deal with him. I don't think that these linebackers are going to have to get frozen in place as spies, and these crossing routes come across. And Sark's talking about how they were picking us whenever we were in man, or whenever we got up close to them. We didn't give them the cushion. And I watched back. I'm like, man, I'm not sure that's exactly right. I think a lot of times your own linebackers were kind of picking you guys. Like these look at the one with Keaton Crawford. Like there were a couple times where he gets his feet all mixed up with David Benda, and neither of these guys. You take 2 guys off the football field like that. I think next week, man, what you're gonna have to do is if you're gonna keep on playing in the same style of defense and the same personnel, like those linebackers need to be taking more of their 3 hole drops and just filling up some of those holes, making those guys decide, am I going to come underneath and let this linebacker try and hit me, or am I going to at least be at a spot where the quarterback has to make a throw over me and let the safety have a little bit of time at this depth? it's like if you freeze these linebackers in place to spy the quarterback the whole time, you're asking Keaton Crawford and Derek Williams and Jaron Thompson and Michael Taft. Michael Taft, by the way, Westlake Chaparral, talking about a big mover in the rankings this week.
Woo, big interception.
Yeah.
Big interception.
Yeah. It's just, look, man, it'll be an important thing to follow, but I think that you got to have Benda, Hill, whoever it is, and we'll talk about the splits this week. I just finished the deep dig. I don't even know who played more snaps. I think Hill did at first, but then at the end of the game, Benda really came in and played a whole lot more. So we'll go back and look at that when we talk about the defensive skill player snap counts or the defensive snap counts and all the rest of it. I haven't even gone down the rundown yet. So let's go through this. If you could please like and subscribe if you could like the show, subscribe to the channel. You can reach me with anything that you. Oh gosh, did I forward you what Jay Ward sent me the other day on Friday?
Oh, let me see. He sent some stuff to me as well.
Yeah. So, like, if you guys have any photos you want to send us, any wacky stuff like that, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, if you're interested in helping us out with thinking up topics or themes for the show, we're certainly always open to it. This show's as much about you guys as it is about me and Blake. So, that's a good way to connect with us. Of course, also in the Specs chat line. You can find
I don't know
us
if this
there.
is the same thing he sent you, but this is what he sent me.
Oh yeah, there's Jay Ward. We got Sark sporting our football with friends merch. Check it out. It looks good on him. It looks good on him, dude. Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. And of course, Blake put the Blake throughout the show will put up there you go, football with friends merch. You don't have to get the merch. You don't have to get the merch in that hat or that color. That's my favorite piece of merch we have. But there's a bunch of other ones. Blake made a great new shirt that says cockamamie, right? And it has the definition of cockamamie underneath it. Yeah, so I actually ordered one of those for my own self. So I'm excited to get it in. I'm a little bit tilted at how long that this place takes. It's like I'm not getting my merch until it's taking like 10 days to get here. So little bit bothersome, but it's fine, man. Cost of doing business. Business. You guys can hold off 10 days.
It takes time to make some quality stuff.
You've gone your whole life without this great merch. What's another 8 to 10 days, right? Unless you want to pay for priority shipping, which I will never do. Okay, so we have all that stuff. The theme today: best burger toppings. So just let us know what you think about. Let us know what you think about burger toppings. Just how you like to dress up your burger. It's a very very interesting topic. Let's see. Ben Azachi's asking, is Game 7 tonight? I'm not sure.
7:00.
Is that Astros? Rangers?
Astros. Yep.
Okay, so Rangers, Astros. Is that in Houston or is it in
Houston? Yeah. The road team has won every game so far.
I'd imagine that you're going to be watching that over San Francisco, Minnesota in the NFL.
San Francisco and Minnesota are playing tonight.
Well, certainly that'll be one thing that we'll talk about as well. We'll get some Monday Night Football prize picks in, or if Blake has any like locks from the baseball game, we'll throw those in.
Game 7, who the hell knows?
We have the defensive grades and the defensive breakdown where we'll talk about all this stuff. There are guys that people are slamming. I mean, people are saying that Byron Murphy was a ghost in this game. That's just not. It kind of wasn't true. He was actually pretty good. It was kind of Tavondre Sweat that ended up being the ghost. We'll talk about that. I thought we were going to get the Alfred Collins disco party. I thought we were going to get Nash on here with his glasses and Cody with his meat, but not quite. He starts off with a sack. It was looking very disco-like.
The conductor had showed up at the train depot and was getting some things ready. All right,
I was showing up too.
Thinking about leaving the station.
Yeah, dude, the hype train was about to get going. So we're gonna go over all that stuff. We got we got a super chat here. That'll be something else. We're gonna get right back to El Presidente super chat. We definitely appreciate you, brother. We'll have your questions like this, super chats, or any other questions that you have. Please put them in the chat. Blake will. Blake will remember them and pull them up for me if I'm in a spreadsheet or something like that. We're going to look at the betting lines and just see where they are right now. Blake told me yesterday this thing opened up to 23. Was it 22.5?
Oh, well, let me check that real quick.
That to me feels significant. Of course, we mentioned the merch already. I wanted to just touch a little bit on
the link. The link for the merch is pinned at the top of the YouTube chat, by the way. So it'll be there for the whole show. So
No, cool. All right, great. And then the link is for the So it's down to 17.5. So that thing's dropped from open, as it probably should.
With
right?
the Quinn injury news, I mean, I would imagine that's worth at least 3 points.
Jay Ward is saying, what is his burger topping? Onion, lettuce, jalapeno, cheese, ketchup, mustard. Well, Jay Ward with a rare L here. I mean, of course, that's not the best way to do it. We'll talk about the best ways. All right, El Presidente fired up to see Murphy compete. Malik has had the opportunity to leave multiple times. He has stayed and competed and waited for his opportunity. Very rare in today's NIL world. P.S. Tom G loves his burger with no buns. Is that true about Tom G?
I don't think that's true about Tom G.
It might be true. There are people that kind of do the kind of bunless stuff nowadays for sure. So I don't know. I don't do it. I just every now and then I try to kind of cut down. I've tried to kind of cut down on bread and stuff as I've gotten a little bit older. But man, when it comes to stuff like pizza and burgers or hot dogs, it's like, come on, dude. You can't give up your whole life. But definitely appreciate you, El Presidente. Thank you so much for always joining, and thank you for the super chat. Jay Ward doesn't eat burgers a lot. I thought you had kids, man. Come on, you got to eat. We eat burgers like twice a week around here, man. All the deer we shoot. Okay, let's talk about some of the thoughts and reactions to Sark's press conference before we get into the deep dig. Let me just get this thing pulled up real quick. And Blake, will you just alert me if there's any questions that come in the chat, or if I'm screen sharing some kind of cockamamie thing that I'm not meaning to. I have an email here from Tyler Finley about some trade advice. Oh goodness, it's a novel here. I might get to it on the show, Tyler Finley. I might get to it after the show, brother.
Alex, not that tab. No.
Let's see. Where was it? So.
Oh, here we go. Tom G responding with a super chat. Truth is, I like buns and use them unless I'm with my wife. We both go bunless. Damn, Eric calling me out like that. LOL.
All right. You can always do the thing where you get the lettuce wrap, right? Nathan says his burger toppings: bacon, mustard, avocado, tomato, onion, jalapeno, pickles. See, that's much closer, Nathan. Very, very.
Jay Ward's youngest son wants steak all the time. Well, as he should.
As he should, man. You're raising one of the real G's.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So they moved they moved the press conference finally to 11:30. So I don't have anything to kind of criticize.
Yeah, how about that? And he was right on time at 11:30.
Well, I've said it all. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I've said it all year.
There was a part of me that thought he was going to show up at 11:40.
Do you know what the most messed up thing is about Bianco moving this thing to 11:30? Is that he's still none of these reporters can afford to live within 45 minutes of the university, right? It's like nobody does. I guess you live on the east side. Maybe it's closer for you, but it feels like all these reporters and stuff. Everybody.
I got a roommate.
Yeah, people live in Cedar Park. People live in, what I'm saying? Like, I don't think anyone lives out here, but like people live pretty far away. They live in the domain and stuff. You get in traffic, it's gonna take you 45 minutes to get to campus and park and everything. And they send out this email like literally 1 hour on the dot before it was originally set to start. So everybody's got there at the same time anyway. It's just like they just complete lack of consideration for the media by John Bianco, whose job it is to cater to them. All right, so we talked about the injuries. Day to day, it means week to week. So week to week, I just hope it doesn't mean month to month. We didn't really touch on exactly what what the general time frame is for an AC joint sprain, because I think it just goes. It's different for different quarterbacks, and it's also different with how. It's different with. Have you heard anything about what people are saying about this, Blake? Because I just know in the NFL what it is. It's like a lot of times they say it comes down to pain tolerance. A lot of times it's, and it's always different mechanisms with these different guys. And sometimes guys get back quicker and stuff. I think it's about I've seen people come back from them. Gosh, who was it? I was thinking about just earlier today with the AC joint sprain. Was it Josh Allen? It might've been Josh Allen that came back after 2 weeks.
Is the AC joint separation, isn't that what Quinn had last year?
To be completely honest, I don't remember exactly what it was.
What was his injury last year?
It's like a clavicle. I mean, don't you remember how he got driven onto his right shoulder? down there going into the south end zone over on the west
I'm
side
sure
of the
somebody
field.
in the chat can confirm.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. It sure kind of looked like one. It looked like one. So I think that it was
Bryce Young last year.
okay. This to me, I think on average, if you think about NFL guys, you're looking at 3 weeks, 3 games missed, like not the week and then a game, then a week, then a game, then a week, then a game, and then a week, and then maybe you can play. So that would be my guess. What game would that put us on for Texas, Blake? If you look at the schedule, so that would be missing BYU. It would be missing.
You got Kansas State coming up.
Which one's after BYU though? I haven't looked ahead on the schedule at all.
Kansas State, TCU, BYU, Kansas State, TCU.
Yeah. Gosh, it'd be nice to have him back for TCU.
Well,
right?
Yeah, if you don't have him back against Kansas State, that's a very, very dangerous game.
Yeah. Okay. So look, we'll just we'll just see. I mean, I feel like BYU, all these games are dangerous games. We're gonna talk about like Malik Murphy a little bit. Clearly, I haven't watched him as closely. All I have is from what I saw during the game live, and for the first 1 hour, like the first 1 hour of the game. I think it was probably only about halfway through the first quarter. Basically, all the good stuff that Texas did, I didn't get to see, and I'm this dark cloud that turns on the football game, and all of a sudden things start going a tiny bit haywire. I even had to change into a lucky shirt, man. I did all kinds of things for you guys. Hold on, sternoclavicular sprain, which is where the collarbone connects to the sternum. So that was last year.
Okay, that must have been the injury last year, which
to the
is
sternum. Oh God.
Yeah, that's not either way, not a fun injury. Don't want to mess with that area of the body. But Tom G hitting the nail on the head here. That's kind of the part of the title of the show. The pressure's on the defense now,
and on the offensive line and on the run game.
Yeah,
they can't be wallflowers and stuff anymore. They need to be butt kicking, absolute mauling dogs. We don't need cats right now. We need dogs. We don't need them cats. Like they need to go out there and be dogs. They need to say this is now our time to put this team on our back. We're gonna clear the way for Jay Brooks. We're gonna clear the way for CJ Baxter. We're gonna make things a little bit easier on our quarterback. We're gonna make the defense not be able to pin its ears back and come after us. We're gonna be the aggressors. We're gonna come into your living room and pee all over the rug, as we always talk about. Find the liquor cabinet. Go steal all your tequila. Drink it in front of you and your wife and your kids. Right? Go grab all your food, eat it in front of your Slim Jims, your delicious Chex Mix and crackers. We're just gonna eat it all right in front of you, and we're gonna come in. There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing, none. All right, and that's the attitude, the same attitude from the defense. Because look, there's some because there are a few things that I'm worried about, and we're gonna get to the defensive deep dig. Have we even talked about Sark's press conference yet? Look, I've been so happy to see the chat, man. To see you guys back. I just haven't kept my mind straight, but now it's time to focus, and we're gonna do that next.
Yeah, just been obviously following the story since it happened last night, and then kind of spent all day following the story. And there's still things that are developing at this moment, but finally felt like I was at a place where it was comfortable enough to kind of put out there and report what I knew, and things that I kind of knew a little bit earlier today. But Quinn Ewers sustains an AC joint sprain, is what I was told, according to my sources, in his throwing shoulder. I think there's a little bit of confusion out there, Catch, because people saw that hit that Quinn took, and they assumed that's what got him hurt or got him injured. But that actually, if you look at it more closely, that happened to his left shoulder. That was not when the injury occurred. It occurred during a sack against Houston. That's when Quinn gets hurt. As you can see, Pete Thamel, not too long after I tweet that out, he ends up confirming it and then adding a little bit more details with a grade 2 AC joint sprain in his right throwing shoulder, as the MRI revealed at this point. Again, he kind of confirms what I report, that, as of Sunday night, no timetable for the return, but we'll learn more this week. I think there's more test catch that, from what I'm learning, that will probably be rerun this week to kind of make determination as to when Quinn will return. And so because of that, that's the reason why there is no timetable. But I think the safest things to say at this moment is that one, AC joint sprain, so there's no break or anything to that effect. But two, you're probably not going to see Quinn on the field within the next couple of weeks. Like, I think you have to go into this weekend a game, or this upcoming weekend's game, feeling like, it's probably going to be Malik starting at the quarterback position, feeling how Arch feels in. But the big news as of this moment is, one of the worst case scenarios that you can have for Texas Longhorns season is knowing that your starting quarterback once again is not going to be available. Once again, of course, this happened last year. And then, in my Sunday pulpit, I went through a whole list of Texas quarterback injuries that have happened probably since 2009. So that's kind of where we are as relates to Quinn Ewers as of Sunday night.
Football with friends is fun as hell. So's a Specs commercial, Blake. What are we doing?
Let's give it to him.
Specs.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
I have such OCD. It's like after the first segment, we have to, after the break, we have to go to the Specs commercial. We just have to do it. Oh gosh. Let's see. I'm just curious. It's not funny, but man, before we get into the press conference stuff, just one quick thing. And again, the Specs chat line, of course, brought to you by our great friends at Specs. So happy to see all you guys. We got Darwin Lemon back. All right, Darwin Lemon. I've been having to stand up for you, man, since you haven't been here to stand up for yourself. There's been a guy in here talking about how he's the Jay Brooks fan club president. I said, no, sir. I already know. I already know of one Mr. Darwin Lemon. Scott Parsons, good to see you, my friend. Text Guy 2, Shane Warren, Craig Simlinger. Oh, gosh, the band's getting back together. Oh, gosh, it feels good. So good to see all you guys here in the chat. Longest Horn, Ben Asachi, all the real G's. Jareth Mulholland. So good to see you, my friend. Okay, it's Arlen says he says he saw him and he checked.
Okay. This comment by Shane Warren: Texas defense showed up on the milk carton this morning.
Oh man, there were some milk carton candidates. We'll talk about the milk carton guy.
That might need to be a weekly segment with the milk carton candidates.
Yeah, the best burger following Sandman, good to see you, brother. He says that he likes his with bacon, jalapenos, mustard, or Whataburger spicy mustard. Huh? I've never had that before. A rare, the ever elusive episode where Alex hasn't tried something at his beloved Whataburger, which is not as good as it used to be. Kind of. It's sad reality. I think that we all sort of agree about that, right? Do we all kind of agree that Whataburger's going downhill?
I 100% agree. It's just not what it used to be.
I think it goes along with okay. So Sandman says spicy ketchup. I was like, spicy mustard. Okay, of course we've always had the spicy ketchup.
Look at this Armut getting his tickets to the Big 12 championship. That's
calling your shot, man. It's fine.
It's
fine. I think. Look, dude. Whenever we reassess where Texas is right now, and like this is probably a good idea to kind of do, right? What do we always do on these Victory Mondays? We talk about we have to identify where we are right now if we're going to take an intentional step forward. Not really us, but our expectations as followers of this program and analysts and fans, fanatical, awesome fans in the Specs chat line. And right now, you're in a spot where things have changed a little bit.
Armut's an Oklahoma fan.
Okay,
Fair enough.
Well, yeah. I mean, you certainly. Yeah, well, I think you'll probably be seeing.
Sandman's got his tickets.
Yeah, there's rain to rise the lake. Where do you live, Texas Guy 2? He's getting some good rain. Oh,
yeah. Well, it's been pouring over here in East Austin.
Yeah, we'll see that doesn't come to me. You that goes down in the Black Sand
Prairie.
Lake,
I will note that the
rain
lake
doesn't go uphill. It doesn't go uphill. I guess it all helps the aquifers, right? So that's good. Okay, but I was looking this so this whole thing about Quinn, probably missing another 3 or 4 games. How many games has Quinn Ewers played at Texas? You can I just pull up a.
I mean, you just pull this. What, like 10?
2, 3, 12, 13, 14, 17 games at Texas.
Oh, I'm way off. 17.
16. So he played against Louisiana Monroe. He played against Alabama, but got hurt, right? Came back in the Oklahoma game, played the Iowa State game. Oklahoma.
How many games did he miss? Did he miss 2 games?
He missed from September 10th. I don't know, but he missed from September 10th until October the 8th. But I think there was a bye week before Oklahoma.
Yeah, so maybe 2 games in a bye or 3 games in a bye.
It would have been so. There would have been a game on the 17th, a game on the 24th, a game on a bye on the 1st. Yeah, a bye on the 1st.
Yeah, 2 games in a bye.
So 2 games in a bye. So 3 weeks. So who knows if he would have been able to go on that 3rd week, right? On the week of that 3rd game after missing only 2 games. I don't recall what the word was on him that week of the bye, whether he was like good to go. And I mean, based on the way that certainly based on the way that Texas played versus Oklahoma that year, what do you have, 4 touchdowns or something like that? And then there was the Iowa State game, Oklahoma State. So 1, if we don't count the Alabama game, it's 16 games. I know that this goes directly against everything that I've heard from NFL agents and NFL scouts and NFL types and all the rest of it. But is 17 games at Texas is enough to be just a lock that he's going to go to the pros? I know that we've and he'll get probably 4 more. I know that, at least what Bill Walsh always used to. So that's right at the Bill Walsh kind of Mason-Dixon line or whatever, the Perry May. What's that line? Whatever it is.
The baseball term is the Mendoza line.
The Mendoza line, whatever it is, right?
It's like batting 200. Yeah.
The what Bill Walsh used to say is like you got to have a guy that like you can't drag. You simply can't like put a guy off your board if he didn't start 20 games in college. Now I know that a bunch of people probably think differently than that now, of course. So the sport's moved on, but I'm not sure that he's gonna. Look, I think with the circumstances being what they are right now, and the fact that Malik Murphy is behind him, and I think a lot of this will depend on how Malik Murphy looks over the course of these next couple games. Right? Does he get control of the? Because here's the thing with Malik Murphy, he's like picture like like have you ever seen the video like on America's Funniest Videos or like on Fail Army or whatever, like for you younger guys, like whenever somebody gets a hold of like a power washer or like a fire hose that's plugged into a fire hydrant and they turn it on and next thing you know they're spinning all around and they can't really harness this thing, right? I'm not saying that Malik Murphy's arm is that. Malik Murphy's arm is a fire hose. It truly is. And there are times in practice where you don't feel like he's the little kid that's spinning around all over the place and like he's going boom, 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 getting knocked all over. But you kind of feel like he's a little bit of an older kid that's got some strength and stuff, is kind of learning how to hold that thing like a big firefighter, right? And point it in just the right spot, but sometimes still gets a little bit of a jerk out of it, and like it's like if he can harness that thing, I think it's he could show us something really interesting here. If he continues to kind of be a little bit inconsistent and the balls look a little bit erratic like they did in the few times we saw him throw this last time, I think that the receivers might have a little bit of trouble at first, just changing the way that they just address the football whenever he there's a different level of catchability to it. Like it isn't like I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that ball looks a lot different coming off his hand and coming into yours than it does coming off of Quinn's hand.
I wish we had the speed analytics at how fast he throws that football because it just looks different coming out of his hand.
Yeah.
That ball flies.
Yep. Yeah. So look, I think that somebody's saying Anthony Richardson. Okay, so let me get down to this. Are they talking about Anthony Richardson as he compares to Quinn Ewers?
I think he's just talking about guys who didn't start a lot of games getting drafted, right?
Well, okay. Well, look, we're comparing, horseshoes and hand grenades here. This is, or is that the right saying? We're comparing apples to oranges. It's like, I think horseshoes and hand grenades is a different thing.
That's a different thing.
Yeah. But it is like comparing them. I mean, it is. They're two completely different things. I think that there's a difference. I think that whole.
I'm sure you can come up with something.
It doesn't matter what it means. Like what I'm saying is they're two different guys. Like Anthony Richardson was the most freakishly athletic quarterback, or basically any position player that we've ever seen. Right? Like he knew how he was going to test at the combine. Quinn Ewers is a kind of small guy with really good arm talent who has had a bit of an up and down career after being one of the best prospects anybody's ever seen coming out of high school. Gets off to a rough start. It's just a kind of sort of nebulous sort of start at Ohio State. Comes to Texas, but has immense highs, right? Immense highs. A couple of concerning lows, right? And then just a history of getting injured every year. And he's a little bit small. And this is a really good quarterback class. And so I began to think, well, is the narrative with his group, his group meaning, his family and maybe his girlfriend and his prospective agent, all the rest of it. These stakeholders, right, in his life, the people who he listens to and the people who care about him, has the narrative just sunk in so deep that yes, he's going pro after this year. Like, dude, do you remember that war room stuff I had written up 2 weeks ago? Whenever I had texted scouts, I had texted agents, one agent who is more plugged in with the Texas football team than any other agent that there is. I'm sure if you guys know anything about this stuff, you probably figure out who he is. But just the dude who's going to know. And I texted him. I'm like, man, people are talking about it. Maybe Quinn might come back next year because of NIL and stuff. And he just texted back, LOL. Like, he's just like, these guys all know. And these agents are recruiting these guys right now. Like, half of them have already gotten, agreements in principle. Except the only thing that you can't do while you're still in college is sign the dotted line. You could tell an agent that, yeah, man, I'm going to sign with you when this is over. You can't sign with them until you're ready to give up your eligibility. So these agents, these agents kind of know what's up with these guys that are leaning towards coming back and all the rest of it. It's the same thing where I had the stuff about Byron Murphy, a bunch of scouts and agents and stuff considering him a top 75 pick. And that'll be an issue as well. But with Quinn, I wonder, is he boxed in to coming out after this season? And if he is, what is his draft process going to be like? What is he going to hang his hat on? Because he's not going to go test like the craziest athlete. He's not going to, he wasn't off to the best start numbers wise from a pure numbers perspective. He had excellent surrounding pieces who were all going to be going into the NFL draft with him, like Worthy and like Mitchell and like JT Sanders. And the possibility still is arising of Jonathan Brooks. And the scouts will look at his offensive line and they'll see Christian Jones and he'll probably be in the Senior Bowl. And they'll see Kelvin Banks, who's on his way to being a first round pick, and like surrounded by good talent. I wonder what his pre-draft process is going to be like whenever he can't be the Anthony Richardson that goes in there and blazes a weighing 248 pounds, blazing, the best size adjusted 40 of the whole combine, jumping through the roof, breaking every single record, being 100th percentile, 3 Sigma athlete. I can't compare those guys. I can compare him to like a Will Levis. But Will Levis wasn't as hurt as much. So but it's something to think about.
It's a good question, though, where you would slot Quinn with all these other quarterbacks that are going to be in next year's draft. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Shedeur Sanders, Penix, Bo Nix. I mean,
and there are others.
Yeah.
There are others, dude.
That's not the end of the list. That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
You probably slot somewhere in there between 6 and 10. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I'd be interested to hear from Cody. I mean, he's an NFL draft analyst. I saw Cody in the chat. What's up to Cody? Naaman Roberts, so good to see you. Tristan Griffin, so good to see you, my friend. Of course, Darwin Lemon. We had Sandman joining a little bit earlier. Darwin Lemon saying he'll be top 5. It's just
Top 5, maybe 5th.
I have a tiny hard bit time seeing that right now. But oh my God, Cody, I have a hard time seeing this. His
Peanut butter.
peanut butter, 1 fried onion ring, and bacon. Dude, you are the biggest meathead I know, Cody. I think that I have a hard time answering this one. We got Blake May in the chat. Good afternoon to you as well, my friend. So happy to see you here, Football with Friends. We're having a great time today. But just one thing I wanted to throw out there about Quinn. I feel like it might be a conversation that we kind of come back to. Does my hair not look quite as orange today?
It looks a little spikier than usual, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more orange.
I just got done with it. Yeah, I mean, it looks spikier. Yeah, it's true. Well, I didn't have time to. It's been a busy day getting the deep dig done. We got to get to the deep dig, but first we do have to get through the press conference because
let's not get the press conference.
Okay, Sark says opinions of others don't matter. He says what we do does matter. He says every game moving forward is a Big 12 championship game. Opinions really don't matter. We control what we can control. And that's kind of true, right? Texas controls what they can control. That's always true. We always talk about it. And intentionality with your next steps, understanding where you are, understanding the level to which you can control your destiny. And at this point, it feels like I'm not exactly sure. I can't do every permutation, but it feels like as I go over it in my head and I've looked at these games, it feels like there's always sort of an out for Texas, no matter what. If they win out, like they're going to the Big 12 championship. And it also feels like if they lose 2, there's enough situations to where it's like, okay, well, if they were to lose those 2, who's that second one who they lose to, right? And then who do they have left to play? And what does that loss mean to the rest of the stuff? They can still get to the Big 12 championship even with another loss, right? That definitely probably takes CFP off the table, I would say. But it is a victory Monday. Texas did move up 1 spot in the AP rankings. I mean, we're cooking with grease. If you didn't know everything that was going on with the quarterback being hurt and the whole secondary being out, and
the other dozen injuries,
your best pass rusher who hadn't been really that good anyway, and Ethan Burke is going to be out about a month or so. It's probably some things kind of underneath the hood that we could probably do some cleaning up here a little bit.
Well, you know what, Alex? Alfred Collins got a sack, so everything is great in the world right now.
I was definitely thinking that Cody was going to come on to do the party, right? All right. But when Stark says opinions don't really matter, they don't matter as they pertain to the Big 12. They do matter as they pertain to the college football playoff, right? That's people's opinions. So, if we're talking about controlling our destiny at this point, it's a little bit out of our control. It's out of the team's control. What's going to happen as far as that stuff goes?
It's in their control in that if they go undefeated and win the Big 12 championship, I think they're in the playoff.
Yeah, but it isn't but what I'm saying is, as of right now, it's not completely in their control unless there's something that happens where, because Ohio State does have to play Michigan still. And what was the other one? There was something going on with Florida State that they have to play. Like, oh man, there's somebody that Georgia's got to play Tennessee, and that doesn't look like it's gonna be too easy. So there are things that could happen, but the question always remains. It's like my question last week was, well, all right, so when Ohio State and Penn State play, if Ohio State loses, would that be kind of worse for Texas because Penn State would stay ahead of Texas as being undefeated, and then Ohio State would probably stay ahead of them as the number one loss team. Mm-hmm. So how many of those teams could lose 1 but still stay ahead of Texas and sort of keep them out? It feels like they're not in complete control of that the same way. It's kind of more like a see what's going to happen kind of deal. It feels like you should be able to, right? But the one thing that we know for sure is if they win out, they're going to the Big 12 championship. Yeah. And Oklahoma is a team that they can absolutely beat if they're at full strength. That was a coin flip game as things stood, and it shouldn't have been. Gosh, those last 4 plays on defense will still just haunt my dreams. I can recall them. All right. So Sark says to watch the Tech game to see how BYU can create turnovers. To that, I just say Tech stinks.
Yeah.
Tech stinks, dude.
Tech's not the best example.
Yeah. So I mean, that's at least one good thing. And dude, we're coming off this stuff where it's like, who did BYU lose to last? Like, who did they lost? They just that loss they had the week before last.
Was it Kansas?
Maybe it was Kansas that just whooped them. I forgot who it was. I'm just like, man, I'm definitely not as worried at this point about BYU. Kind of seeing them cooling off a whole lot about Keaton Slovis. I didn't notice all of this stuff whenever I watched BYU the first time.
Oh, BYU lost to Kansas earlier in the season, but got smoked by TCU a couple weeks ago.
Just smoked, right? And it didn't like TCU has been that good.
No.
What Sark said about BYU is that he said that of course he has his old friends, I guess his old teammates that coach there. I looked up their names, but because they were who was it? What's the it's just like it's a Hawaiian name for the coach, but I can't search for it because I forgot what it was. Like Sataki or something for BYU who he played with. Let's see. Ex-teammate BYU. All right, so let me just find this because
Kalani Sataki.
Yeah, Kalani Sataki, and then I think the other it was Jay Hill or something.
Yeah, Jay Hill.
Yeah. So
this is the Seg Golden question, right?
Yeah, got it. So yeah, he says that you got to think about Kyle Whittingham defenses at Utah. He said attack the line of scrimmage, penetrating, trying to get up in the backfield, a lot of confidence in players and scheme. They mix things up on first and second down, and on third down, it's get to the quarterback. And so to me, when I think about that, well, I mean, if that's what they do, and if that's the way that they attack, and they're generally going to attack like that, one, offensive line, again, time to step up. Dogs, we need dogs. We don't need cats. We don't need the meow, meow, meow. We don't need the cats. We don't. I don't want any of these cats. And then also, I hope Sark doesn't go into this week saying that that's what they're going to do and teaching everybody that that's exactly what's going to happen. I think this needs to be a week where it can be an anything can happen week, and let's kind of practice for all contingencies, even though they've showed us these tendencies, because maybe U of H sort of showed them this last week that you throw something at this Texas team, especially whenever it's a quarterback like Malik Murphy, who. And Sark said in his press conference, he basically said, look, if we can get him to the sidelines and we can talk to him and like say, this is different, this is how you adjust to it, this is how you attack. Like when we can do that, we can handle it fine, right? We can make our in-game adjustments when they're on the sidelines and we can talk to him, talk it over all the rest. He's like, whenever they're out there and they see something different and stuff like that, they need to be able to, adapt on their own and say like, well, this week of practice is something. And he made sure to say like, and trust me, you know how much I love practice. And of course, Sark loves practice and stuff. He always talks about best practice of the year, all the rest. But he says they have to be able to adapt to these new things. And if we're seeing a small issue with Sark, it felt like during the U of H game, man, it felt to me, and I don't know if it felt like this to you guys in the chat. It felt to me like Sark, after a great start, sort of felt like he was just kind of. Did you guys ever play Battleship growing up? Do you know Battleship?
Yeah.
Do you know what that is? Where you kind of guess where their battleship is, and you're just like, let's just go B12, and it's like, it's like, oh gosh, I didn't get the battleship. It feels like it felt a little bit like play calling by Battleship. Right, just kind of see like Battleship play calling, just saying like, oh, it's like it didn't.
That fake field goal was definitely Battleship play calling.
I'm not going to give him any trouble. I mean, I'm not going to give him. Was that? I guess that has to be ultimately his call. And what Sark always says about that stuff, he's like, man, when we have these fun play calls that we get into practice and they do well with them in practice, that. Like they put in the work in the week of practice and they end up, executing it in practice. It's like, it's not fair to not do it in the game. And I can understand that, right? It's a lot of fun. He has you kind of have a responsibility that like if you're practicing something, man, you show the guys like we're not just doing this for nothing. right then.
Chad Hastings during the watch along had a interesting idea on who might have called that play. He said the monkey.
Oh,
Jeff Banks' monkey called it in.
Yeah, Darwin Lemon saying he wishes somebody would ask him about adjustments or lack thereof, and there was something kind of like that at the very beginning, whenever he just said that what was it? So he said that that with the was that when Kirk Bowles asked about the like the crossing routes. Was that what it was? No, that wasn't it. But basically, what he said is that look, oh yeah, no, something about playing corners off playing corners off the ball and stuff. It was more about a defensive adjustment thing. It was Chip Brown who asked about playing corners off the football, right? And what Sark said is that he says it just varies. The call, the technique, the formation is something that we'll look into so people can't force us into softer coverage. To UH's credit last week, when they saw us getting up in physical on the line of scrimmage, they go to those crossing routes and guys would get picked. Stuff like that. What he had said was that, in these games, it's a game to game thing. It doesn't necessarily have to. I feel like Sark, if you were to ask him about in-game adjustments, he's not going to say something like, okay, and really he couldn't. It's almost an impossible thing to answer. I think he can only answer to you about what in-game adjustments he made this last week, what he might not have, what he might have done in previous weeks. But he basically says it's basically up to what's happening. It's up to what we're being shown, what we're being shown by the opposing offense, we're being shown by the opposing defense, and making the adjustments to it. It felt to me like battleship football. It didn't feel as much as making adjustments offensively as it did just like, let's just give this a try, or it didn't feel like there was any because at the beginning of the game, it's always on a script, right? It's like one play plays off the next and it plays off the next. And if this play fails, well, then you have like a little chart where it's like, all right, if we only get 4 yards on that, then we'll go to this one. If we get a first down on that, then we go to this one. And everything is, smooth and it's in place. And they look like they were running like a well-oiled machine. They need to get into a spot where they can have that sort of rhythm off of their adjustments in game. And I think that it's probably going to be interesting to see how that occurs when you have a guy like Malik Murphy in there as opposed to Quinn Ewers, who clearly is 1 year behind as far as the on-field experience and sort of real-time playbook stuff. It's going to be it's going to be an adventure. One thing it's going to be fun as hell. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to power through the rest of this press conference stuff. We're going to tell you who the new leader is on the deep dig standings. We're going to see who's trending up, who's trending down. A couple guys trending down, guys, but a couple interesting players trending up as far as their snaps per production so far on the season. We're going to talk about all that stuff next.
Do you think Sark gets ultra conservative, or will he let Malik throw it on first and second downs to keep defenses honest? It's Malik's show. What kind of show are we going to get on, War?
First of all, thank you. I do remember meeting Lucius and having a good conversation with him, so I definitely do appreciate that. He's watched the shows for years and stuff, so thank you so much for that. It's going to be interesting, Lucius. I wish I can handicap it at this moment. There's a part of me that kind of feels like Sark is who he is, and he's going to try to do what he feels like he can, what he normally does. And I don't think he's going to want to try to make himself one-dimensional by any stretch of imagination. Catch, this is the same person when a deep ball wasn't working last year. He still kept throwing it. Like, he never stopped. So I look at this. I look at him that says, look, we look at Sark's resume. Sark's going to do him. What he says, hey, I'm going to take risks. We're going to be up tempo, high powered offense. Like, I'm going to do all that. So I don't expect him to dial it back, to be quite honest with you. Now there's an argument that can be made. Was he should or shouldn't? But at the end of the day, I don't see him, especially going against BYU, his former school. him telling himself, I'm just going to run the ball 50 times. Like, I don't see that catch. I don't, there's nothing about that sees that. And, if that, but so, no, I don't think he's going to get ultra conservative. I don't see that. I don't see that on his resume at all.
Football with friends is fun as hell, man. I'm so happy to be here with you guys on a big Monday here on Football with Friends. So happy to see the FWF fam in the Specs chat line, and getting back excited for these Texas Longhorns, man. Look, man, they got the win. They got the win, and maybe like Sark said in his press conference today, interesting that they can learn some tough lessons, without having to take the loss to pay for the lessons. Like that's always a good thing. Like
Texas teams almost always take the loss when they learn their lessons.
They pay up for those lessons in the L column. And it's kind of like the L column kind of stands for lessons, right? It's like, yeah. So to be able to get to be able to get that L for the lesson over in the W column, man, that's a big deal. And the big lesson, I think, for this one was certainly how they're going to handle these crossing routes. How they're going to do this stuff, how they're going to handle these dudes finding these wide open Swiss cheese spots in the zones, and how they're going to keep from just getting everything so mangled up there in the middle of the field and whenever they go to man. And we talked about it earlier. I think one of the things that they're going to need to do and really focus on this week is getting their linebackers dropped to more proper depth. Almost even if, man, it's almost like if you're going to, maybe with Ethan Burke being out now, what they can't, because here's the thing, he doesn't have a really suitable replacement behind him, right? Next year will be different. Vossick will be another year older. He'll be bigger. Colin Simmons will be here. He'll be fighting for a starting job. Like, there's going to be some stuff that goes on, right? But now that he's out, we might be able to get into some more situations where we get into this. And I'll pull up the deep dig. We still have a bunch of other stuff to get to, but I just kind of wanted to pull this up and just show. So let's look at the participation chart from U of H, and I'll get this a little bit bigger to help you see it. That's probably a little better, right?
Yep.
Get into more of these situations where you get the buck out of the game, right? Look at this, Blake. 0 just straight up starting over 33 to start.
There you go.
Start the game, and it's not just sub package stuff, right? Now, see, that's not a sub package. That's still a key point in the game.
Wow.
But at the end of the game, it went to all Benda, though, right? It went to all Benda at the very end. So when the game was in dire need of winning, they did definitely seem to trust Benda a little bit more than Anthony Hill. But regardless, if they've had a lot of success, and not only on third downs, even though that's where you kind of saw it here at the beginning, right? Getting into this sub package where they stay in nickel behind, right? I guess you could call it a 3-3-5, right? You get your 3 down linemen, you take the buck end out of there. You get your Mike and your Will. You generally get this Will as like a flex linebacker, something like that. Anthony Hill moves all around in this role. He goes off the edge. He lines up over B gap. He'll sometimes line up as a traditional Will. He'll drop back into coverage. And then Maurice Blackwell, who'll be playing in an overhang capacity, right? What was interesting in what happened here, so the other one that they go to sometimes is the one with Jet Bush. And sometimes the one with Jet Bush, they did this one that was odd, that was different from anything that I've seen all year, actually, right here in this third series, where they had Jet Bush as a true buck. And then so they had 4 linebacker personnel with Jet Bush playing the buck. But anyway, Bush got hurt at some point in this game. I think maybe he got hurt on this play, the first play of the 4th series, and we didn't see him again. And so even in the run stopping stuff, we saw Maurice Blackwell end up coming in a lot more, which I thought was a little bit weird. I think if they had time to think about that, what they'll do when they go to the run stopping stuff moving forward is they'll leave in Benda and they'll get Hill over here at the outside linebacker, because that makes a little bit more sense to me, unless they were only thinking Maurice Blackwell was a little bit better in coverage. We're having to deal with this number 2 wide receiver always coming in here on this little drag across the middle. He can run with him a little bit better, right? But here's the problem. Whenever we sort of think about that, if I were the Texas staff, and I need to look more into what BYU does specifically, because Sark said the one thing that we worry about a lot with the BYU team is he's had a lot of things, right? What do you say about the defense? Attack the line of scrimmage, do all this stuff. They that's what they do on first and second down. Then they bring the house on third downs. Like I said, first of all, for one, don't rely on that. Don't tell them that that's going to happen every time. Expect the unexpected. And the other thing would be, let's get some of this stuff right. Since Burke is out anyway, are we really going to say, let's get Justice Finkley here at this Buck? Right.
Hey, real quick, Sandman asking, what distinguishes a Buck linebacker from other linebackers?
Well, it's a Buck end, right? It's just it's the end that's on the weak side.
It's a hybrid defensive end.
Yeah, it's a hybrid defensive end linebacker that's usually on the weak side. It's not always on the weak side, right? But the strong side defensive end is your big Baron Sorrell type, right? And Justice Finkley goes between the Buck and the Jack. But generally he's the backup Jack. He'll sometimes go over and play over at the Buck. But the Bucks that play behind Ethan Burke, specifically only at Buck. See, you'll sometimes find these where they go a little bit bigger and they'll move Sorrell over to the Buck, but that's only whenever they go to a big set like this, right? You get Alfred Collins at the Jack, whereas he generally plays the tackle, and you move Baron Sorrell over to the Buck, right? You get a third linebacker in there. That's a run stopping personnel, right? You get the nickel out, you get the extra linebacker in. I think what they can do is they can have Anthony Hill be sort of like a pseudo Buck, right? And then have that and have him almost, but a little bit more back off the line than the Buck always is. And you can even line him up a little bit back off the line in B gap, right? And when you do that, if you need somebody to spy the quarterback, right? Or you need somebody to be doing that stuff, right? Imagine if this guy was kind of like more playing over here, right? Then you can have both these linebackers drop back to depth to allow for what we talked about earlier. Because what did we talk about earlier with these crossing routes? What happened? Because Sark said they just kept picking us, right? They just kept picking us all game. And there were some games where, they got some good picks on Texas. And what I mean by picks is they basically just took guys on each side and they crossed them like this, and guys run into each other. And Sark said, some of it did, it's not always. Sometimes that can be pass interference, right? It's pick blocks. It's like you're not really supposed to do it, but you can do it in ways to where you can definitely get away with it, right? But there were also times when these linebackers, when they were sitting there just making sure that they were going to spy this quarterback, he wasn't ever really getting flushed out. It was like we talked about last week. Whenever you pressure him, he's not a Dylan Gabriel that can snicker into these little nooks and crannies and find his way out and spit out for 7 yards. How many times did you see that out of Donovan Smith? You didn't. Right. But now some of that had to do with the fact that maybe he was being spied by those guys. Take the third linebacker, have him more as a Buck, have him more as like the spy. If you're going to be having to spy a quarterback to where he's at proper depth, let the linebackers drop to their proper depth to where these guys aren't going to be getting, mixed up in this horrible traffic as these crossers are coming across. Right. And then you can free up the linebackers to rob. You can let them get to depth to where the crossers might have to come behind them. And if they have to come behind them, the quarterback has to put a little bit more air on the football. You have the safety to be able to come up and just jab a guy in the back the minute you just blow him up, the minute he's trying to catch it. You're not putting these safeties in impossible spots where it's like, all right, well, we're just gonna go over the top of this mess because nobody's getting open. But look what happens. Now you got Keaton Crawford of all people having to come at this weird angle to cover this dude on this post route, and he's gonna get a coverage burn. So I think that that's a good way to not only address the absence of Ethan Burke, but to also address the fact that Coach Sark said that we need to get this figured out because BYU, that's their bread and butter, is those crossing routes.
Oh God.
That's their bread and butter. And so that's, if we need to get this figured out, that's a way to kind of kill two birds with one stone, right? I think the best way to kill two birds with one stone is when you're selling your home in DFW to use Val Garcia. ValinRealty.com. Do you know that Val Garcia is going to sell your house for free? If you're an educator or you work in the ministries, Val Garcia is going to sell your house for free. And like I said, you're killing two birds with one stone here because you're not only getting a great realtor, but you're also getting just a super nice guy. I mean, just take a look at Val Garcia. Tell me if that's not a man that you're gonna be happy to have your house sold for free in the DFW area. From what is Coppell in the DFW area? I think it is.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
it not? I don't know. What do we
Yes.
always say? Gun Barrel City, Frisco,
Gun Barrel City is definitely on the fringes, I would say.
Burleson,
That's quite
Maybank.
a bit far outside of DFW.
Wherever you are, Val's going to have your people. And if you tell him that you heard about Val and Realty on Football with Friends, he'll sell your house for half price. Even if you don't work in the ministries, even if you don't work in education, those are just his people. Those are the people who he wants to do the work for. He waived like $65K in fees last year just to educators and to people in the ministries. That's the kind of volume that he does there. He's top 25% of the DFW area. He's one hell of a guy, man. He's our best sponsor here on Football with Friends. If you have family in the DFW area, let them know that Val Garcia will sell their house and give them a great discount if they tell them that they heard of him on Football with Friends. His phone number is 469-647-8729. The website is valenrealty.com. Val Garcia, what a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy. Anything else from the press conference that we need to really clean up? I thought, can I just talk about the whole Michigan thing?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so Sark said, because Sark was asked about it, right?
This is the latest on it from Pete Thamel at 2:15 this afternoon. They got a Michigan staffer who's
Connor Stallions bought tickets for more than 30 games at 11 Big Ten schools over the last 3 years. Also, video evidence of sideline taping is expected to be sent to the NCAA this week, caught by stadium surveillance this year. Okay. Look, this is obviously not good for the game of football, right? It's not fair to the players. It should not be allowed, right? It shouldn't be allowed. Here's the other thing. Let me just see what Sark said about it. Okay, so he said it's a real and definite factor in college football. Some teams rely on it much more than others. He's saying, oh, dude, yeah,
this happens.
Yes, it happens. He says we have boards, signalers, different color shirts to get our calls to our guys. We try and hide it as best we can. So he's talking about it from his angle, right? Sark's not saying anything about whether, clearly, he would never say anything about like, yeah, we do it too, or, something that I wouldn't expect that they do. But my deal is this, like, if someone's stealing your signals, that's a them problem, and they're cheaters and they're bad, and they need to, if they get caught, they need to be punished. But it's also a you problem. It's also a you problem. I wrote in my column, it's like, if you can't figure out a way to hide this stuff whenever you know that other people are doing it, it's like leaving your house unlocked and your alarm off. And, of course, when the burglar comes and he comes and steals all your stuff, when you go up to TXB, shout out TXB, to go grab an iced tea. The police say, like, tell the police, oh, police, he stole all my, my liquor and my guns. And like, they're all gone. Officer, how do we get them back? He's like, well, did you lock your door? No. Well, did you have your alarm on? No. Did you have a dog? No. I mean, it's just they're safeguards I feel like that you can put in place, right? And since you know it's out there and you know what's happening, it's a dereliction of duty to not be as crazy about this, just as maniacal and crazy about this stuff as you possibly can be.
It's come out in the story today. So the staffer who's been buying tickets and going to all these games and scouting future opponents, he had 2 tickets to this past week's Ohio State-Penn State game. 2 tickets, 1 ticket on each side of the stadium at the 50 to look across at the other sideline and get the footage. And like, did he go run his butt around the stadium at halftime to like? Well, he didn't end up going to the game because all this started to come out. But he had 2 tickets, 1 on each side of the stadium to look at each sideline.
Well, how can he? Did he have a friend with him? How's he going to be 2 places at once? I don't get it. I guess
he spends the first, like you said, he spends the first half observing one team, goes around, gets the other offense. He's sitting there reading the signs across the field.
Yeah. Okay.
And figuring out, okay, that's what they do, and then goes to his other seat on the other side of the stadium and reads the other signs.
What do you think that? So we have this, and I'm going to get to the defensive deep dig in just 1 second. But we owe you that much. But Gerardo, I believe that's how I say it. I've definitely pride myself on the Espanol. Oh man, I don't want to put too much expectations on Malik, but I'm so hyped to see what he does. I think we can all agree that we're just excited to see what happens, right?
Oh yeah.
If nothing else, it's kind of fun just to say like, well, what if he goes out there and he's awesome? You know,
There's
it's
a nervous excitement because we don't know what happens. Like,
I wrote it in my column whenever Sark was saying, so they have this thing where they every Friday night he gets together with AJ Milwee and Sark and all the quarterbacks, and they just talk about what they did during the week, what they liked. They go through and they ask every one of these guys, you know, all right, so whenever we were down there in the red zone and they gave you this look, like, what did you like best? And Quinn would be like, whatever. I like the thing where we had Keelan on the Texas route, and we had the 9 over here from Zay or whatever. They probably have the play call. There's like 987 fly out junior, whatever the break, right? I mean, but whatever. Like they'll just say whatever play it was that they kind of liked down there, why they liked it, and he said that that's something that they do every single week, and because somebody had asked him, it's like, how do you make a guy like Malik? Like, are you having conversations with him this week about what he feels comfortable with, what he feels most comfortable doing? And what Sark said was like, well, dude, we do that every week with all the quarterbacks, with Malik, with Arch, with Quinn, Charles, and whenever you Charles Wright, is that right? Charles Wright?
Yeah, Charles Wright.
But he says, but whenever he said, and then he finished that by saying, so I have 7 weeks of just collective experience of what Malik likes, so it isn't just this week. It's like 7 weeks of experience of what Malik likes. And to me, I've thought to that. I was like, I had the smallest little sneaky feeling in my head that maybe this could be a situation where the door could be cracked open to maybe seeing Arch at some point during this period. It feels like there has to be it feels like we have to at least account for the fact that could happen.
Well, he's the backup. He's the backup now. So if anything happens to Malik,
it doesn't. I don't think it necessarily has to be something that happens to him.
No, well,
I think it could be if it's just something performance based. Like,
how long of a leash? How long of a leash would you?
Well, that's my question for you. I mean, or the chat. How long do you think the leash should be, and how long is it going to be before before I know on Orange Bloods it'll be the first series.
The fans are going to start whispering after 2 bad drives.
Well, on Orange Bloods, on Orange Bloods, it'll be 1 bad drive, and then they'll say just pull off the Band-Aid, get in Arch. It can't be any worse than this. Like, and if Malik goes 3 and out. And that's the other thing. Is like Blake May saying, Mn's very much a pocket passer. Malik Murphy, you think about him being this big, beastly dude who looks like he'd be just a freak and just a Mack truck to tackle. That's not really part of his game.
Yeah, he's not a runner.
He doesn't have he doesn't have something like that to fall back on as much as you might think, just based on the way that he looks. And I know it's easy to look at the guy and say, why not? He's a Mack truck. He'd be impossible to tackle. Like, but why not? Why not? He's a
pocket passer. He wasn't a dual threat coming out of high school. He's a pocket passer.
So Sandman says the leash needs to be as long as MM feels comfortable. If we're down by more than Darwin Lemon says, if we're down by more than 1 score, try Arch. I mean, that's a pretty sure that's 2 very different answers there, right? If we don't score after the 4th, the 4th series? Okay, the 4th drive, yeah. No scoring after
4 drives without a score, they would put Arch in. You
think? So that's how so it's a short
4
leash.
Drives? 4 drives to open a game.
Well, Blake, you just I asked you. You said, well, he's the backup. Of course he might play. And I said, no, I'm not talking about getting hurt. I'm talking about for performance. Yeah. And I thought you kind of acted like for performance. No, but now you're saying after 4 drives they definitely would. Like, is that
if
where
they don't score 0 points on 4 drives? I think they definitely. I think Arch would come in.
So Blake may say he plays all 4 quarters, but what if those 4 quarters have to? I mean. Yeah, I mean, Danny Juarez this is true. It's like time travel back to the post spring game reaction. People, of course, are knee jerk in the middle of that time of year whenever you're just dying for any kind of football and content to talk about. Of course, people are saying, start getting the galaxy brain ideas about Malik playing over Quinn and stuff. But that's all that is. That's galaxy brain stuff, right? That's not. That I don't think that that's real. With that said, are we that sure that Malik Murphy's that much better than Arch Manning right now at this point in his development? Is Sark really that sure? He was that sure about CJ Baxter and Jay Brooks. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. It's like, let's just
we don't know.
I'm interested in knowing what we're going to analyze it. We're going to talk about it, whatever it is. I'm just interested in setting the feel right now among the fan base of what the expectation is from Malik Murphy and how long that dude's leash is. We're stuck with this quarterback situation for probably 2-3 weeks at best. All right, let's look at the deep dig.
I hope he's not Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell was good in college, man.
He was a good college quarterback, yeah. Not so much in the NFL.
All right, here we go. We alone in tier 1 by himself right now is Jalen Ford. He moved up over T'Vondre Sweat this week and brought his snaps per production down even a little bit. Jalen Ford this week goes from he's trending badly in his efficiency until the Baylor game this year. If you see Jalen Ford right here, I'll move him to the top, so maybe that's easier to. So he was trending towards, bad to the Baylor game, got a little bit better versus Kansas, bad versus OU, and kind of trending back up here versus U of H. Now, the important thing to remember is that had to do with the fact that Jalen Ford had a sack fumble, right? I mean, it's like that's a big play in the deep dig. That's like that basically is like scoring a defensive touchdown or something in the deep dig. And we saw what that did for Jaron Thompson stuff. But it takes Jalen Ford into a tier all by himself. The important thing to remember about Jalen Ford, though, is that when you look at that number for him, and you see that he's generating production once every 8.81 snaps on the season, right? That efficiency number is not as good as any of these guys here in the tier 2. Everybody in tier 2 fell a little bit as far as their snaps per production efficiency on the season. T'Vondre Sweat fell 1 point. Byron Murphy, who people talk about like he just played a junk of just a junky mess of a game. Like it was not a terrible game for Byron Murphy. It was a good game. If you watched him closely and put the microscope on him, he was in on a tackle. He had 2 pressures. He had a TFL and he had a run stuff. And he only played. I think he played like 33 snaps. Let me just see. Byron Murphy this last week, 32 snaps. So he got basically 8 points in the deep. So 2 points for pressures, 2 points for a TFL. So that's 4 points, 1 point for the run stuff. So that's 5, half a point for the assisted tackle. So that's 5.5 points on 32 snaps. Just off the top of my head, what's that, like 6? It's just snaps per production was like 6. So it actually brought it up just a little bit this week. The thing to remember about Jalen Ford, that he's very top. Look at this number right here. His total number of snaps on the season compared to the guy who's played the next most snaps. Isn't this crazy how much Jalen Ford has played compared to everybody else? So I guess here. So let's just go back to the production chart post U of H, and we see Jalen Ford here at the very top, right? But he's played 381 snaps. It was a total indictment over him, or an indictment regarding him, that he would be anywhere but the top. Just the fact that he plays at a highly productive position. I mean, he plays middle linebacker. He plays the most volume tackling spot that there is. It would be it's a complete indictment that going back to after last week, T'Vondre Sweat was ahead of him on only 196 snaps, right? Now, his efficiency per snap has gone up a little bit this week from 9.61 to 8.81, like we talked about. So that's good. It had a lot to do with one play, though. And so when you see Jalen Ford up here at the very top of the sheet right now, I think it comes with a caveat. It's like, yes, he's the most productive player on the team. But does that mean that he's the best? Does that mean that I think he's the best player on the Texas defense? No, I don't. And it's not that I just think it, it's just that it's just true. If you believe what the deep dig looks at and you believe my charting, then it's just kind of true. Like he's getting by on pure volume of snaps. He's getting by on being on the field a lot. And if you watch this last game, like I said, man, these linebackers getting their feet tangled up on these crossing routes. It wasn't just, U of H dudes, picking each other, and number 2 and number 4 and number 0, and this guy taking this angle. Like, it wasn't all just those guys. It was the linebackers being in weird spots. They're getting in these kind of, they're having to take these 3 wide receivers on these little crossers. And we talk the three wide receivers, like the third one in from the outside, usually a running back or a tight end. Not handling these guys very well at all. And the deep dig doesn't really even ding them for that as much as, it gives a bunch of coverage bonuses and stuff to all the DBs and things like that. For the linebackers, it doesn't focus as much on them for that, because I found over the years it doesn't matter as much to their total overall score. But I mean, there's a little bit of nuance there to that. It's like Jalen Ford is not he's not playing as well as he did last year. And it was interesting to see for the first time this season, this happened. Check this out. If we look at the participation chart, look at what happened for the first time I've ever seen him in my life. First off, why on the earth was Leonga Lafau and Aaron Bryant in on the 5th series of this dang game? Did they really? And Trill Carter, Mr. Milk Carton. I mean, Aaron Bryant and Trill Carter, Milk Carton and Milk Carton Jr. These guys,
lineup,
dude. Trill Carter. Literally every week, what they do is they just say, "Hey, man, let's put in Trill. Let's put him in." And 2 plays later, like, "Oh yeah, wait, that's Trill."
We got to get him off the field.
He gets put in the dirt, dude. He gets put in the dirt, man. Aaron Bryant. Let's look at how he's been doing this year. Let's make sure and get this guy in the 5th series. Okay, so is he in the tier? So Aaron Bryant's not in tier 1. Is he in tier 2? No, he's not here. Is he in tier 3? Let's see. Is he here? Michael Taft, what a game for the Mr. Shepard.
Oh, look at that other name there. Alfred Collins in tier 3.
Alfred Collins, man. Well, he got a sack. Look at this dude right here. Baron Sorrell, working his way up towards tier 2. That guy played a heck of a game, especially versus 76, that left tackle. He's a good player. Okay, but he's at least in the sub-replacement level, somewhere pretty high up, right? I mean, they're getting him in the 5th series. Okay, so we got Jalen Gilbo. He's played only 65 snaps this season, way up here. Let's see. Oh, where is he? He's got to be somewhere here. Oh, no, he's Trill Carter. Oh, gosh. Where is he? Oh, could he be here? Could he be here? Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, wait. He's in the no production category after 34 snaps on the season?
Oh, man.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Getting this guy in right here. Getting it. Wait, by the way, where's Leonga Lafau? Because Leonga Lafau, oh, here he is, way down here at number 31 out of basically 34 scores on the team. He's generating production once every 70 snaps. He's only played 35 snaps.
So he has half a production on 35 snaps.
Yeah. So it's like...
Hey, better than Aaron Bryant.
It's better than Aaron Bryant. Better than Aaron Bryant for sure. But the thing I was going to say that was just so interesting that I saw was, for once I'd ever seen it. Let's look at the Mike linebacker here. They had a setup where 33, where is it? We're 41. Hold on, wait. Oh, that's the OU. Sorry. Look at this. Look at this setup in the 3rd series. No Jalen Ford. David Benda moves in at Mike. They put Hill at the will, and they put Jet Bush at the kind of like the Sam, or the outside linebacker. They have never ever played anybody in game at the Mike spot that wasn't a backup, like a Leonga Lafau or one of these dudes that comes in later in the game, right? Instead of Jalen Ford. They just haven't done it.
Mm.
So this is the first time. This is the first little creak of a door opening, maybe a little bit, to saying, hey, it's like Benda's losing a whole lot of snaps right now to Anthony Hill, right? He's losing a few snaps. I mean, if you look at it, he's actually losing a few snaps to Maurice Blackwell. Ben is losing all those snaps. They might be thinking, Ford is played a lot of volume. Maybe we shouldn't be just making sure to give all these extra snaps to all the, we shouldn't. There shouldn't be this huge a gap in the snaps that he's played versus the snaps that Ben has played versus the snaps that Hill's played, even versus the snaps that Maurice Blackwell has played, just based on his efficiency so far this season. That's the first time that we've seen that door sort of crack open to that idea. I'll be super, super interested to see this next week if we see that sort of personnel and alignment again. We're going to get to the rest of this stuff and also talk about Monday Night Football, get some prize picks entries in. Of course, man, it's football with friends. It's fun as hell. We're going to talk about it all next.
This Orange Bloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the biggest UT football stars of the last decade. Bijan Robinson was a 5-star prospect by rivals when he signed with the Longhorns, finishing as the nation's number 18 overall prospect, the second best prospect in the state of Arizona, and the number 1 running back in the country, according to Rivals.com. Upon retrospect, it's kind of amazing that former running backs coach Stan Drayton was able to land Robinson when you consider that Ohio State was perceived as a massive leader for much of his recruitment. In fact, on the day he committed, Rivals.com recruiting analyst Adam Gorney told Orange Bloods, quote, "Even after the Atlanta 5-star challenge, it almost felt like Ohio State was the foregone winner," Gorney said that day. But as it got closer, I think the realization that he would basically be going across the country to play football kind of set in. He really, really liked Texas and USC a lot, had connections to both schools, liked the staffs, and how they would use him, and wound up finding a school closer to home that he was very happy with. It wasn't until Robinson visited Texas on an unofficial visit for the spring game in April that Texas began to make it surge. By the time June rolled around, a couple of months later, the Longhorns had emerged as a team to beat in his recruitment. Robinson was a part of a 2020 recruiting class that finished 14th in the nation that year in the Rivals.com rankings, and what turned out to be the final full recruiting class for Tom Herman. A few years later, and there's not a ton of meat on the bone with respects to the elite prospects from that year outside of Robinson. Jake Majors and Jaron Thompson remain as a few of the higher ranked players in that class, but it's actually 2 of the lower ranked prospects in the class, Jahdae Barron and Jalen Ford, that have made the biggest impact as the class begins to wrap up its contribution to the Texas football program.
Yes, football with friends, of course. It's fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Blake Skaggs, of course, here joining us. Jay Ward is building another demolition derby car for his fair in the August. Oh, my gosh, dude. Yes. Hey, man, if you need to, we'll send you a logo for that thing for sure.
Absolutely.
Make sure and send us some photos. Let's see. I was just looking at it, Blake. Look at this, man. Oh, Scott in Texas. Welcome.
Scott in Paris.
Scott in Paris. So happy to see you, man. Look at this, man. For one, I'm tilted that this game's at noon. Or is it 11? Noon Eastern, I guess. Is it noon or 11?
No, this game's at 2:30.
Why does it say noon? Maybe it's just this is
They all say noon.
Oh, okay. Is it 2:30 game?
Yeah. Well, let me confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it's 2:30.
I really liked that. I really liked it being at 3 last week. I only missed 1 hour of it during radio.
2:30 on ABC.
Well, I'll miss the first half, so hopefully we'll be in a good spot by the time I get on there. But look at this, dude. Texas minus 17.5. 99% of the cash is on BYU and 96% of the tickets.
99. Have you ever seen that before? 99% of the cash?
No, I've never seen it. They're saying that they give Texas what do they say? They give Texas a cover probability of only 47.3%. I mean, but what's the win? But a win probability of 87.1. Golly, does that feel a little bit? I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a little bit, little gun
1% of the cash on Texas.
Yeah. Alex, you use your last year of eligibility for the game this Saturday. Good. So good to see Mr. Oscar Elizondo in the chat. Oscar, we didn't know what your favorite burger toppings are, brother. I feel like you'd bring some good insight to this.
Naaman Roberts with an interesting question here. Explain why we have gotten 3 coaches in a row that came to us from a team that recently won a championship but missed the mark here at Texas.
What championship did? Oh, okay, like just a conference championship or something like that.
Or as coordinators.
With Herman. Okay, so Herman,
Strong, Herman, Sark all won championships as coordinators.
Because Herman was at Ohio State before.
Mm-hmm. Strong at Florida.
Well, he's asking you.
Asking me what do I know? Why are they failing at Texas?
Yeah, he's asking you.
Strong, I think Strong was just not a very good head coach managing. I think he's a pretty good defensive coordinator. I mean,
and a great dude.
Great, phenomenal person. But just as a head coach managing all the different things. There's so much to manage as the head coach at the University of Texas that I think just being a great coordinator doesn't really set you up for.
And what it was Strong and he's a defensive coordinator coming to the Big 12. It's like I know that it's been fine with what they've done at OU with that kind of thing. To me, it doesn't feel like it just doesn't feel like in the Big 12 you want to bring in I always thought it was so weird that OU just basically changed up they had this whole lineage of all these Stoops guys and all of them. And it felt, there's like a whole little coaching tree that sort of developed there and spread its wings out, but it always stayed it permeated through the OU program. There were always assistants that had been there for years and years and knew the systems and stuff. And then they cut the tree off at the roots, and they're just like, all right, we're going to bring in a defensive head coach, not even from here, no ties to the DFW area and recruiting or like any of this stuff. And I thought it was bad, but he's done a good job, I guess. I mean, they're playing well right now. Seem fairly talented to me. They keep on building. But doesn't that feel like that feels like the outlier, right? You bring in Charlie Strong, and the thing about Charlie, you'll remember this about Charlie. And this was emblematic. What does emblematic mean? Does that mean it's like signifies like what is emblematic? Because I'm saying like I feel like it was emblematic of the way that he coached and the way he managed his team and stuff.
Symbolic.
Yeah, symbolic, right? It symbolized it the way that he would finish up in recruiting, right? Just where it would just be like hair on fire coming into National Signing Day, and there'd be these guys that you'd never thought that you were going to get, right? And all of a sudden they sign with Texas, and Strong walks with his Birkenstocks into the press conference, just chest out and stuff, like pointing at reporters saying, "You didn't think I was going to get him, did you? You didn't think I was going to do it." I mean, it's just like, but he's just like, "No, man, it'll all be fine. Like it'll all get figured out in the end." Like that was how he kind of was. That as a head coach, you can't be everything's going to be fine guy. You need to be oh my God, nothing's fine. We need to make sure that we have to have our, you got to be a tyrant, dude. A little bit. You got to be like, not in a bad way to where your players hate you, but like a Lance Leipold, like check in with every single one of them. Like figure out which kids have played in stadiums with 100,000 or more. And then once you haven't, go have a conversation with each one of them about how they're going to adapt this week. Like things like, who thinks of that? Charlie would have never thought of that. Charlie would have told him to go to the pit with what's his name, right? Junkie.
Football Junkie. Here's this question along with Super Chat.
with Pat Moore. Who plays next to Hill next year? Do you move him to Mike in the SEC, especially with his skill set? I mean, nah. How old's Blackwell? Junior?
Blackwell's a junior, right? Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to look up.
I don't think that. But see, Blackwell can't play Mike. Maybe you could play him a little bit of Mike. Maybe you could have him play at Mike whenever Blackwell's in there with him. Have him play Will whenever Leunga Lafau's in there with him, and then just hope for big time development from number 15. What's his name? Who's 15?
Hacker says might be a transfer to
some Ajay Burrell, maybe something like that. It'll be interesting.
Man, you know who they could really use? Gary Johnson. A guy like that just to fill in. I think
they're not all Gary Johnsons though. Blake.
No, but they're not. That's the problem.
Sometimes they're Diamante Tucker Dorsey's or Ben Davis's. So
hey, I wouldn't. Hey, DTD was at least serviceable. He was, he was all right.
One hell of a luxury realtor, right?
He said that way too sarcastically.
Yeah.
Okay, Oscar had another super chat with his.
Man, I love a good. So I told you, Oscar Elizondo. This is the kind of thing that Elizondo comes with. Okay, so an over medium egg, pickles, onion, mustard, mayo, some kind of spicy sauce, perfect burger, smash. Oh God, the smash patty. Look, I'll just say for mine, just because we always forget at the end of the show, I kind of like them different. Is this weird? Like I like a lunch burger different than a dinner burger. Is that weird to say?
No, I think that makes sense. I think that's fair.
Because like when I eat them at dinner, I like to put mayonnaise on them. But during the day, I don't like mayonnaise on my burger. So something about it maybe being kind of during the day. But when you're eating a nice dinner and stuff, it feels like when you're eating a dinner burger, it's usually kind of a better beef than you would get for like a lunch burger you're getting somewhere. If I'm getting a lunch burger somewhere, dude, I'm like him. I like the patty smashed. I like to get a bunch of cheese on it, right? And then what I'll always get is just the regular stuff, man. I just like kind of the regular stuff. Maybe get some bacon on there, but I kind of like pickles and onions and like mustard and ketchup and stuff and jalapenos. Delicious. It's making my mouth water to say it. Now, when I'm eating at home, definitely the fried egg on top, a little bit of mayo, some bacon.
Always bacon. Bacon.
Just a farm fresh egg, big orange yolk on it. Just let the yolk come over the sides. It's good. That's the thing, man. When you have your own chickens, the yolks aren't yellow. They're like bright orange, like the sun. It's crazy. All right. What about you?
In fact, I'll just show you what I like. I'm a big Phil's Ice House guy. So give me the 78750 burger, which is cheese, onion rings, bacon on top of the burger with mayo, lettuce, tomato on a sourdough bun. That thing's just fire.
What's on it again? I'm sorry. Like I'm looking at this dude Bevo guy who's harassing me on the just internet harassment. I'm being cyber bullied here. It's true. Look, man, I think mayonnaise is better on your burger at night. I feel like it tastes kind of weird to eat a mayonnaise burger during lunch in the middle of the day, right? Because it feels like yeah,
different times of day you like different things.
Yeah, and also, like I said, it feels like when you're eating a burger at dinner, you're usually eating it like a home cooked burger that you buy like better beef and stuff than you would get at a place like Phil's. I do love me some Phil's Ice House, man. I used to live over there in Windsor Park, and we'd come over there. It's just off 2222, right?
There's the one that I go to is like Burnett Road, but there's a bunch of them around.
Yeah, 2222 in Burnett.
Yeah.
Just right south of HEB. It's good, man. All right. Okay, so we got to get to just clean up a few more things here with we're gonna have to talk about some more defense tomorrow, and we'll get into some other stuff. I'm going to look at my first bit of BYU tomorrow. We'll have a little bit of a scouting report on that. The OT special at Dirties. Man, my wife and kids love that thing. Here's the thing about Dirties, and I think I'm probably an idiot for not liking it for this reason, but Dirties really is dirty.
Oh yeah, I mean it's from what, the 40s? Like
they don't call it Dirties for just no reason.
No. Accurate description.
All right, so some of these other guys. I mean, we know about Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Jade Barron, Anthony Hill. Man, all these guys are awesome, right? As far as tier 3, Barron Sorrell moved up a lot, and that's because while you might not have noticed, no Barron Sorrell pressure. Let's see, where is it? No Barron Sorrell hit, no Michael Taft interception, right? Three pressures, 1 hit, couple points for tackles. That's a monster game when he only played how many snaps? He actually played a fair amount of snaps in this game. He played 52 snaps. But so I don't think his snaps per production really went up too much because he did do it on a lot of volume, but certainly played a good game. It has to be moving up to. I mean, but look at this, dude. Look at it right here. So.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
He starts out at 20, gets down to 13, kind of creeps down to this 9 area right here, comes back up to 11 versus OU, kind of takes it back down to 10.65. I feel like if Barron Sorrell can stay in this spot where he generates production once every 9 or so snaps, that's going to be something that's going to be just fine for him. It's kind of trending towards this sort of light blue color. If he can just stay there in that deal. Tavondre Sweat is, for the most part, staying here in this deal, but we see a little bit of a tick up this week, right? Anthony Hill, same. Staying in this same deal, but seeing a little bit of a tick up, right? 5.67, now he's up to 6.36. Byron Murphy, just a tiny tick up here, right? 6.07 to 6.12. These guys are still playing really, really efficient football. right? Sweat, Murphy, Hill. We're getting there with Michael Taff, which is so interesting to me. I mean, what do you have? 8 tackles? What did he do in this game? It was Michael Taff was
Obviously the interception.
so 7 total tackles, 1 interception, 1 blow up. He got 1.1 points, 1.11 points for his lockdown bonus. So he played just over 50% of snaps, because the lockdown bonus for nickel corners and safeties is 2. If you play 100% of snaps, it gets amortized from there. As far as he was thrown against 3 times, he allowed 1 completion. He did allow 1 coverage burn and 1 missed tackle. So that was the bad side of the ledger. He did get burned. A couple of coverage burns in this game. Who had 2 coverage burns? It was Brooks.
Brooks, yeah.
Brooks had 2. That was just Taft, right? That had 1. But then the safeties with these coverage burns, 2 of them. So that's Crawford and Jaron Thompson. So not quite as many burns as you would think. A lot of times, like I said, that you can't really call it a coverage burn whenever there was a good pick, or whenever one of your linebackers got in the way. And we're going to talk more about that through the rest of the week, sort of how they're going to attack BYU that does it in a similar way. I'll have my whole write-up for the deep dig tomorrow over on orangebloods.com. But, kind of wanted to talk a little bit now about Monday Night Football. Unless you have anything you want to say about the baseball game, Blake. Baseball with friends. Any big takes for tonight?
Oh, man. Scherzer versus Javier. I mean, it's game 7. I don't really know what to expect, frankly. Like we said earlier, the road team has won every game this series. I think the road team has won the last 10 matchups between the Rangers and Astros. It's gonna be a wild game. Going to be a wild game. I don't know if you've watched any of the series, Alex, but the Astros just had a crazy ending to game 5 where Altuve hits a 3-run home run. They win that one. The Rangers have a huge game 6, especially in the final couple innings, force game 7. It could go either way. I mean, it's just.
Who are the pitchers?
Max Scherzer versus Christian Javier.
I thought you said Scherzer wasn't even any good anymore.
Well, no, my point about his last start was that he had not pitched in 5 weeks. He'd been injured.
Did he end up going over that 3.5 strikeouts?
Ooh, probably not. He didn't. He wasn't in the game very long. He had a rough outing.
Okay.
So he's back again. It's the same matchup from that game. We'll see. I feel a lot better about Scherzer now that he has at least 1 start from being injured back. But it's still it's game 7. It's going to be wild.
Let's go to the Roster Watch premium download section here and just kind of get a look at this. So we have San Francisco at Minnesota Vikings. We have the Vikings here as 7-point underdogs at home at US Bank Stadium. 28% of the tickets are on the Vikings +7, only 31% of the money. So everybody here wants San Francisco. It looks like we're going to have Christian McCaffrey for this game, but Deebo Samuel with the in-week setback this week, looks like he'll be out this week and next, according to Shanahan. So certainly something to kind of keep an eye on there as far as the matchups these guys face, as far as the individual players this week. If I pull up the matchup tool, look at it, Blake. It's so beautiful. And it's so funny. It's so funny how it's in the same like red to blue that my colorblind self has to do instead of
big,
like for the deep dig.
Real quick. Scott in Texas is asking, where do the stats come from? I assume he's talking about the deep dig. Alex charts all the Longhorn games, what every player does from statistical breakdown, rewatches the game. He does the defense early in the week and then the offense later in the week. So those are raw stats from Alex's own eyes.
Yeah, man. It's my 13th year doing it. I chart every play by every player on the team, and for the offensive line, I give them grades and just chart the alignments and everything like that. Whenever I pull up that thing, that's just my own cockamamie template that I've used for the last 13 years. But it gives us a good historical precedent for how we can compare this team and how these players are performing to others. Like that's how I can tell you that T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, and Anthony Hill are both playing from an efficiency level like a Joseph Osai, like a Malcolm Brown, like a Hassan Ridgeway, even more so than a Malik Jefferson or I'm trying to think of.
Now Scott is asking, you need to offer a subscription. You can go to orangebloods.com and sign up.
Yeah. We have subscriptions available right over there at orangebloods.com.
Access.
I put every single chart out every single week for everybody to have and share. But this is a different subscription that I do offer over on Roster Watch. This is for NFL fantasy football stuff. So when we look at the Minnesota Vikings here, the San Francisco defense is the number 25 matchup this week. So we only have 26 games. So it's the second worst matchup of this week for Kirk Cousins. I should mention that the matchup tool does not take into account really traditional fantasy points against, fantasy points allowed. It does take into account our schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed, which is a proprietary thing that we do. But it also brings in the Vegas totals, the Vegas lines, projected game scripts, projected number of plays, and also accounts for defensive injuries, right? So if like one of your best corners is out or something like that, your matchup grade will be affected like that in the algorithm. And it's cool now because I used to have to sit and do this every week. I could never do this every week like I used to, but we were able to, once we got a little bit bigger, we were able to invest in getting some actual people who knew how to do this stuff to kind of automate it for me. But anyway, I'm always a little bit surprised by it these days because I'm not the one doing it. All I do is populate it. I don't go in and put the actual raw data in myself. So the second worst it's not a good matchup for anybody on the Minnesota side, right? On the San Francisco side, in facing at Minnesota as favorites, the number 9 matchup of the week for quarterbacks, number 12 for running backs, number 7 for receivers. So it's good across the board. And we do have to remember no Deebo Samuel is going to open things up for this number 7 matchup of the week for Brandon Ayuk. So I'm going to be interested. Like I'm thinking that maybe Brandon Ayuk could be where I go to kind of start an idea here of where I might want to go to tell a story and correlate a story about this. So let me go to Prize Picks. You can go to Prize Picks yourself and use promo code OrangeBloods for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Whenever you do, you'll be able to take part in like the free games on like the protected plays on Fridays and stuff like that. I'd say probably not tail me on these ones where I'm under a bunch of pressure here at the very end of the show because I'm not sure that one of these 6 picks has ever really won. All right, let's see. So receiving yards, where's Ayuk? Oh, gosh. That's a tough number, isn't it? 77.5.
Let's see, we're not seeing it quite yet.
Oh, sorry.
You're
good. Brandon Ayuk's at 77.5 for his more or less. Where's Prize Picks? Can you see it now?
Yep, we got it now.
Okay, McCaffrey's going to play. He's banged up with an oblique. Golly, the 26.5. I mean, I think that Brandon Ayuk is just gonna smoke this week. What is his fantasy score, more or less? Maybe I like the fantasy score a little. Oh, do I? Because he might not be. It could be Kittle in the red zone. I'm gonna take Brandon Ayuk, and I'm gonna take the more on 77.5 receiving yards. We don't have any Justin Jefferson in this game, of course. So where's Jordan Addison? 50 and oh gosh, give me Addison. So back and forth with these two. I might just leave it like this. Man, like Kittle 50.5. KJ Osborne feels like he's probably going to go over. Ever since Jefferson went out, he's gone over that both times.
I need 2 fantasy points from Osborne to win my matchup in one league, and then at the other league, I need the San Francisco defense to get at least 2 points.
This is indoors. This is indoors. What about the kickers? Because San Francisco,
kickers.
Let me just look at the kickers. Do we have them? Kicking points. Only 5.5.
5.5. Do they not kick the ball very much?
He feels like he should. He's going.
Yeah.
Was Jake Moot? Golly.
Oh man. No.
But it's indoor, and I think San Francisco rolls these guys, man. These are the 2 that I feel best about of everything that I've seen. I'm just trying to see here if there's anything I even want to mix in and sort of dabble with this. There's the Kirk Cousins in primetime narrative where he's not as good in primetime. I kind of, golly, isn't Kittle going to score more than this? That's the thing with him. He's either going to
looks like he's an every other week guy.
He's going to smash it, or he's going to. It's every other week with Kittle. And last week versus Cleveland, that was a tough matchup for opposing tight ends. This is the number 14 matchup for opposing tight ends this week. I think I'm just gonna go with these 2 guys, man. I'm just gonna see if I can make a quick like.
Yeah, hit one. You hit. It looks like didn't you hit 3 over the weekend? 3 plays.
Oh yeah, check this out, and almost another one. Look at these. So that one is still open. I missed on that one a long time ago. Let's see. Past entries. This one came close. Check this out. Pacheco. My God. So if Pacheco would have got me a little bit more, and Kenneth Walker would have got me 3 more fantasy points, I'm looking at $750. But I hit this one or missed that one. Hit that one for 60. Hit that one for 60. Hit that one for 300.
Ooh.
So with these little 2-bangers, I've been doing a good job. So I'm just gonna stick with Ayuk.
Yeah, stick to the 2-bangers for a little while, and let's see if we can get on a roll.
Yeah, we'll see if we get on a roll with that. So yeah, we're always here having fun. We're always here talking about these guys. Tomorrow I'm going to listen in on a homeboy. What's the BYU guy's name? Kalani Sitake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to watch that press conference, see what I can pick up from that. Watch a little bit of BYU, clean up the rest of the defense. By then I will have gotten started on the offense, so we'll start having a good idea of how they kind of looked. Hopefully we'll have some new news about the rest of these guys before we do the full offensive breakdown on Wednesday, where we'll also have Anwar Richardson. Thursday, of course, we will have Can't Miss Mitch on with his picks and everything like that. Or maybe, I guess Mitch didn't come on last week. Maybe it's good that he didn't. I think he only went 1-3 with those picks because the Rams lost and the Chargers lost, right? But Denver ended up the weird Denver one he picked ended up winning. So yeah, we're gonna have all that stuff. If you guys could please, like Scott in Texas says, if you guys could please click the like button, click the subscribe button. We certainly do appreciate all of that. We do have the merch. You can scan the QR code or look at the very top of the chat. That's where you can get the merch. It's all high quality stuff. We've ordered it all. We've checked it all out. It looks great, feels great, makes you look great, man. And we're just so happy to have you guys, man. So thank you so much. As always, we're here 3:30 to 5:30 every weekday. Oh, final takes this week. Cody Carpentier, live from in studio. How the hell we're doing it, I have no idea. We might just have to have him set up in another part of the house or something. I am not going to sit here and talk into the same mic as Cody like this.
Oh, yes, you are.
I'm not going to do it, man. Not with the meat breath that guy has. All right. So yeah, for all you
share
guys,
a steak.
we could not do this show without you guys in the chat and all you viewers who watch afterwards. So thank you so very much, man. I'm so happy to be here, especially on a big victory Monday. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it rolling through the week. For Blake, I'm Alex.